as you watch my feet walking as I walk in the parking lot at work, I wanted to really make a point. I did this in the video yesterday somewhat. We posted a video talking about Tennessee aftermath, some of our more extended thoughts on it, and then going into the Florida game and kind of just the state of the program, injuries, things like that. And we're gonna have some articles coming out this week. If you guys want them, they'll be there. And I really want to make this video to point out how severe of an issue it is for LSU with some of the personnel, decisions. We're just straight up not playing our best guys right now. We're not playing our best guys on special teams. We're not playing our best guys on defense at times. We're not playing our best guys on offense at times. Jack Bech, 19 snaps versus Tennessee, 2 targets, 1 catch. Jack Bech has 13 targets on the season. Chris Hilton, who barely played and has been injured for the last few games, has 10. Okay, Mason Taylor has more targets than Jack Bech. Is that in any world, is that okay? How and why did we hear from Brian Kelly multiple times? I asked the question in the spring press conference about Jack Bech. And what did Brian Kelly tell me personally directly in front of the entire media crew? He told me that Jack Bech is special. He's already preparing and playing like a senior. He's someone who just gets it. He's someone who has rare traits that only the top NFL guys that he's coached have. And he basically went on to say, Jack Bech is going to be a guy that I'm going to lean on. I'm going to lean on Kayshon Boutte. I'm going to lean on Malik Neighbors, but I'm going to lean on Jack Bech. And that's what it seemed like. That's what it felt like. That's what it was. That's what Kelly told us. For all intents and purposes, you saw Jack Bech go off in the spring game with 2 touchdowns while fighting through a little bit of an injury. He looked damn good. 2 touchdown catches from 2 different quarterbacks. Okay. He looked almost, unstoppable at times in that spring game. And then we hear, stress fracture, all that stuff. We get maybe that's why, we're not seeing Jack early in the season, right? That might be the excuse. Okay. We can live with that, right? We don't want someone who's not 100% out there, and we don't want Jack getting, even more hurt. And then we, can't have him for these big games. So, okay, we get it, easing him back into the season, right? Well, then it came a point where it was just like, where is Jack on the field? He was a guy who kept LSU's offense going last year. He's a dude who almost beat Alabama single-handedly if Max Johnson can stand in the pocket and deliver an accurate pass over the middle. Jack Bech has a touchdown, and we might win that game 21-20 at Alabama with Jack Bech as a freshman catching 2 touchdowns on the road. Only ended up with 1, but he could have had 2 had the pass been accurate there. That's the type of player we have in Jack Bech. Led the team in receptions, 3rd in yards, 3 touchdowns as a freshman, while really barely even playing as much as he should have and could have. There was so many times Pete's was not knowing how to use Jack either. When it's very simple. Put him on the field, give him the ball. Really not that hard. You don't have to overthink this and out-scheme yourself. Put him on the field, give him the ball. And you got to wonder at this point, when Brian Kelly says, we're going to do whatever it takes to give Jack the ball before the New Mexico game. We got to get Jack Bech involved in our offense. And he goes to great lengths to say this. And we see a little bit of it against New Mexico. Not nearly enough. And then we go right back to this. Just because he's returning punts and kickoffs, I guess you can't put him in the offense anymore. And why put him back on punts and kickoffs? We saw that he can make the plays, but there's so many guys on LSU's team who can make the plays, and it seems to me that they're just ruining the confidence and throwing some guys under the bus here by putting them in these situations that really are almost designed to get screw-ups. I mean, having Jack Bech switch sides of the field seconds before the ball is kicked, I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. It's just trying to set up someone for failure. And, not even letting Jack atone for that fumble with just one catch. I mean, that's just a joke. But his one catch perfectly illustrates why not having him in our offense is hurting us. 3rd and 13. LSU need a first down, or we're going to give Tennessee the ball right back and they're going to score again. 3rd and 13, after just fumbling the ball, Jack makes a contested catch and gets 14 for the first down. That's the type of player Jack is, and I really just have to say, if you're Jack Bech, as diehard LSU as you are, can you sit on the bench knowing what you can do for this team? Can you sit on a bench for this season when Brian Kelly knows the type of player you are? And that's the thing. Is this a Cortez Hankton, Coach Carter thing? Do they just not think Bech is good enough? And I would ask the same thing about Harold Perkins. 9 defensive snaps against Tennessee. 9. How in God's name can you even begin to explain to me? And Kelly's explanation in the press conference was an absolute he's covering for Matt House there. And, I love what Matt House is doing. But you can't go with Greg Penn III over Harold Perkins. You just can't. And it's going to be a decision that's going to be looked back on, and people are going to laugh, because it's going to be like taking a freshman Tyrann Mathieu out of a game, taking a freshman Devin White or a freshman Derek Stingley out of a game. It's going to be looked back on with some ire. And Harold Perkins could have absolutely helped us in that game. Anyone who says anything different doesn't know how football works. Early in that game, he gets a few hits on Hooker, a strip sack, something like that. That changes the game. All LSU needed to do was recover 3 of the fumbles that they forced, and maybe something changes early. But we'll never know because we didn't try it. I feel like there's guys on this team we're just not using. Brian Thomas Jr. We're barely getting him the ball. Why isn't Brian Thomas Jr. returning kicks or punts, with his speed? How come Chris Hilton Jr. was never, ironed out as the punt returner, kick returner, or Sage Ryan? These are specialists. These are guys who are specialists at doing those special teams things. How can someone like Sage Ryan, who's so electric in the return game, not be given those opportunities? It's almost like you're kind of neutering him as a player. by not letting him express himself in that side of the game. Because, frankly, Sage Ryan needs to have the ball in his hands to really get his confidence going on both sides of the field, defensively. You know, his special teams playmaking really helps him get going defensively, too. And I feel like LSU, from the beginning, kind of screwed the pooch there with not getting those two as the returners. And, you know, Chris Hilton's now out for the season, injured with his shoulder surgery, so we won't have that chance now. But the fact that, you know, some of the special teams lineups include Marlon Martinez, still Emory Jones, you know, just some of the lineups, I just am like, what are we doing here? And, you know, for the most part, 99% of the defense has been fine. The Harold Perkins thing, it just makes me want to rip my hair out. But, you know, there's also Colby Richardson, I feel, has been picked on in coverage big time. And do we want to try LaTerrence Welch out there as a freshman? Could he do worse? That's the question I have. Could he be worse than Colby Richardson? I don't think so. Just some thoughts about, you know, Jack Bech kind of being thrown under the bus there with his fumble. I didn't really see too many coaches coming to his defense. I saw his teammates coming to his defense, but none of his coaches really, and explaining that, you know, it was their fault, really, to put him in that position. And yes, Jack should not have fumbled that football, but that's his first error as a Tiger, and there's reasons why that error happened. There's some players who could leave this team, who could transfer from this team, and I would not be shocked. And after what we're doing to some of these guys, neglecting them on the bench, it's you can't do it. Someone like Jack Bech has to be on the field. Someone like Harold Perkins has to be on the field.